Pick,
Tyrone Poole's a first-round pick last year. This kid's only a half-inch shorter, and he's got a better vertical jump than Tyrone Poole did. And we know what kind of rookie year he had. I really like this kid. I think this is a steal for the New York Jets. That he was able to be the teammate of the guy he worked with at Texas A&M, Aaron Glenn. You watch his coverage ability. They say he's small. We did a great job against the Monty Toomer in the Alamo Bowl. He did a great job against Lavelle Pinckney at Texas when he played against the Longhorns. And I tell you, he's also a tremendous return man as well. Tough kid, great instincts for the football. He's a break on the ball, 4.41 speed, and he'll tackle. He's just not a small corner who's a liability against the run. He'll come off the corner, he'll block a kick. I think he's an all-around football player, a guy that loves to play the game, instinctive ability. Just a great pick for the New York Jets. I think this is like you say, at this stage of the draft, you're getting a guy who had early second-round potential.
Well, we're going to get back to Joe here in a minute, but let's go out to Mark Malone quickly at Jets headquarters, where the Jets obviously know that maybe they tiptoed through with some big-time value. Mark?
Well, there's no doubt about that, Boomer. I talked to the Jets just prior to this pick. They were looking at either the defensive tackle. There's a couple good guys left on the board, Shannon Brown and Christian Peters, certainly, but they told me that they thought there was still a great cover corner in this draft as they picked number 3. And, of course, that guy was Mickens. And you mentioned the connection between he and Aaron Glenn. Otis Smith was a guy who came up with a lot of interceptions at cornerback for the Jets, but he also got burnt deep quite a bit last year. So they come away now looking to defense, doing a great job, picking a great player. He's only 5'7". Some people concerned about his height and small corners nowadays, especially matching up against bigger wide receivers like the Michael Irvins in this league. But they've certainly got a good player. Now let's go to Chris Fowler at Bristol.
All right, thanks, Mark. Well, Mike Godfrey, you certainly second the strong positive opinions about Ray Mickens. For an hour, you've been saying, Mickens, somebody take him.
I'll tell you, Jimmy Vaccarello, the defensive coordinator of the Jets, did a great job last year. He's going to like Ray Mickens. Ray Mickens is a competitor. I agree with Mel Kiper. He'll fight you. I know he's 5'7". He's a punt returner, a kick returner, but he is a competitor. You got to like him.
Now let's talk about quarterbacks. We've gone through now 63 picks in this draft. Only one quarterback taken. That's St. Louis selection of Tony Banks back in pick number 42. Now, Mike Lombardi, Mike Godfrey, we knew this was not going to be a strong draft for quarterbacks, but this is really, it sets itself up for what if Peyton Manning had been in this draft?
Well, there's no doubt.
Number 1 overall.
Number 1. He's the best. I hope he stays in college football for a long time. Not advocating he comes out either. I want him to stay in college football. He's the best.
Let's say you had to pick right now, and you were looking for a quarterback. Who would be the second quarterback taken after Banks?
I'd take Tommy Frazier.
Tommy Frazier.
And making sure that his health problems is okay. But I think, first of all, he's won 33 career starts as a quarterback. He's an accurate passer. Now, a lot of his passing was off of play action. So
the team doctor.
Mel Kiper has the number 1 quarterback rated overall as being Bobby Hoying. He's a guy that some people compare to Kerry Collins, perhaps not the arm strength. Frankly, you don't like him at all.
No, well, I think he's got a chance, but I like some other guys better. I like John Stark from Trinity a little bit better. I like Scott Milanovich because he's a punter also. So, but I think there's some other players out there too, Chris. Dr. Lombardi here, he knows some too. But Gerald Moore's out there as a running back, and I think he is a super football player. I think somebody's going to get a great player in Gerald Moore. Jason Odom
out of Oklahoma with a tough fullback. Mike Lombardi, who else do you like in 3rd round? We've heard Jimmy Johnson say this is a draft with a lot of value in the 3rd round. He's traded down to get a lot of picks in this area. If you were in a war room, as you used to sit in the Browns war room, who would you take here?
Well, I think Brady Smith, a defensive lineman, Darrell Price, another defensive lineman. They're attractive guys to pick in the 3rd round. If you can get a defensive lineman with the growth potential of Brady Smith, I think he's somebody you have to look at. Roman Oben, who played in the Senior Bowl, an long-arm offensive tackle. That's another value. Stefford Williams, a receiver we haven't heard a lot about, who can get the ball down the field. He can make plays down the field. So I think there's a lot of value still going on. I think we're now in a position where everything's based on need.
Interesting time in the war rooms right now is a lot of good players sit out there. This is when the player personnel guys earn their money. Speaking of money, let's go back to New York and Craig James.
Well, nice little pop there, Fowler. You know, a couple of conversations there. Tommy Frazier, I've talked to Tommy. I've seen him play a number of times. I don't personally think he's going to be a quarterback in the NFL. I hope his health comes around, just like Coach Godfrey does. I think the guy's going to make it at some position in the NFL, but not as a quarterback. He just is not an accurate passer. In terms of Ray Mickens, the pick previously here by the Jets, I think that Jets fans got somebody that's tremendously talented, and I agree with everybody there. The Aggies, all their coaching staff, all their players, former players, compared him favorably to Kevin Smith and to Aaron Glenn. They said this guy may be as good, if not better than them. And he always had to cover the best receiver on the field. He was challenged quite a bit. So I think you've got a great pick there in Ray Mickens.
All right, Craig, thank you. Well, we heard from Tom Osborne earlier about Lawrence Phillips, the running back. Now we've spoken with the Nebraska coach about his quarterback, Tommy Frazier, and his future.
I think he's a great talent. I think he should play quarterback. If I were starting an NFL team, I would take Tommy Frazier, partly because of his athleticism, but also partly simply because of his makeup. You know, he's a guy that wins. He's a guy that is a great competitor. And he went out to the East-West game, for instance, in an entirely different system, primarily a drop-back system, was named the outstanding player of the game. And most people would say, well, he's not that kind of quarterback, but he can be, and I'll promise you he can win.
Oh, winner, there is no question about Joe and Tommy Frazier.
Oh,
but
yeah.
where would you draft him?
No.
And you wouldn't.
No.
But still, what do you see him as, a quarterback?
Absolutely. I disagree with Craig James vehemently. I think that Tommy Frazier can play quarterback. I know you'd appreciate this, Craig. But I really believe that Tommy Frazier can play football at this level. Does he throw the ball that well? No, not necessarily. Heath Schuler didn't have the highest percentage, nor was he that accurate a passer coming out of Tennessee, but I think you can work on that. He has great natural gifts. He has great abilities. I just think that the medical problem is a tremendous liability for Tommy Frazier. My second pick at quarterback would be Jeff Lewis. I just think he's the most natural at the quarterback position, even a little bit above Bobby Hoying. So, to me, I still believe strongly that Frazier could play quarterback, and Lewis is probably the next
From
best
Northern
on the board.
Arizona.
Yeah, from Northern Arizona.
All right. Well, let's go back to Craig. I feel like, you know, the mediator here in the peace talks. But first, Craig, you get Georgia Frontiere making the comments, then Fowler, now Joe. What happened to you?
I don't know. I'm a punching bag here, but let me tell you why I say what I do.
Good.
It's because I've watched him on the field. I've watched him throw in warm-ups. I've watched him throw in the games for the last couple of years. If the guy is wide open and he's sitting in the pocket, Tommy Frazier cannot throw it within 5 yards of him. If Tommy Frazier is scrambling and outside the pocket on the move, having to improvise and adjust, he'll throw a bullet. So if you put him in the pocket in the NFL and you try to expect and hope that he can do that for you, you can forget about it. It's going to take a great quarterback coach. Joe, you're going to have to go back and coach. He is a winner. There's no question about that.
Oh, yeah,
he led Nebraska to the championships back-to-back. He's always been the guy that they can depend on. But I think his strength in his legs and his aggressiveness is why I consider the guy to be an excellent running back prospect. Well, see that? He left the pocket, Joe. He left the pocket, and he made a great throw.
There, he's in the pocket, and he makes a great throw.
Yeah, the guy was wide open. The
Now here,
defensive
wait a
back fell
second. There
down.
he is. He's still in the pocket and makes a great throw. So there's two cases, Craig, where I think he can sit in the pocket. I think he can sit in the pocket and be able to play. And you bring up a really interesting point. The fact that he has great legs, in my opinion, makes him an excellent quarterback. A lot of people have a misconception about the quarterback position and say that they have to have a great arm, they have to have a strong arm. To me, the legs of a quarterback are vitally important. When your legs go, your arms go. The legs are what allows John Elway to be able to get the job done. As much trouble as Dan Marino has had from time to time with his knees, he still has great ability to shift the weight through his legs. I think the legs are vitally important. That's why I think Tommy has a chance as a quarterback.
As someone who went to Canada, could he go to Canada? Should he go to Canada?
You know,
not really for him.
Let's say he's healthy. Yes, I think Canada would be a decent alternative. I think probably coming down here to play in the National Football League and then going to play in the World League would be a better alternative for him at this point.
All right, let's go out to Gary Danielson. Everyone's weighing in on their position. No question that Tommy Frazier is a winner, Gary. I mean, he's a tough kid. Could he play quarterback in this league?
Yeah, you know, Chris, we all can be winners, but it doesn't mean you can play the position at a different level. I think pro quarterback is completely different than the offense he ran at Nebraska. I believe if he was 100% healthy, he would still not be drafted as a quarterback. Maybe the option of going to Canada and learning the offense and learning how to throw might be a possibility, but I wouldn't draft him as a quarterback. Maybe an athlete, but not as a quarterback. Looking back at Arizona, going on a less serious topic or a less controversial topic, Arizona's pick is the tight end. Interesting thing about a need position right here for Arizona. Boomer Esiason is the new quarterback here for Arizona next year. He's a guy, when you look at his past history, likes to use the tight end. Arizona looking at need, no tight ends. Oscar McBride, the only guy on the squad that has even had any experience. He's a free agent signed last year, one guy on the squad. I think this was a good pick. McWilliams is a guy they considered in the second round as a possibility. They got him in the third round. So things work out the way I guess everybody hopes down here. Let's now go to Tom Jackson in Carolina. Tom?
Well, For the Denver Broncos, let's talk about their pick in the third round, a guy named Detron Smith at fullback. Detron Smith will act for Terrell Davis as Moose Johnson.